Oh, hi, welcome back to the channel. That's me, Based Goth Red Pill Joker. Let's go. If you didn't leave a comment in the last video letting me know which towns you would like my American tour to stop in, then please leave a comment down below today letting me know which towns and cities you would like Monroe to hit for an American tour, like Austin, Texas, or Detroit, Michigan, or whatever, right? San Diego, California. These are just suggestions, but let me know the towns that you would like my US tour to hit, and I will take all of this into consideration. Thank you. Because I am currently planning a US tour, and I would greatly appreciate the help. Would be an absolute delight to meet more of you wonderful people out there. I always have a really great time every time I meet fans of me and my music. I really appreciate the support and the views and the likes and the comments. Honestly, this stuff means a lot to me. So if I get to be on the road for a couple of weeks busting my ass just to show you some appreciation, it's the least I can do. Anyway, on with the content. Now it's a Monday. We're gonna be looking at goths today because I'm always quite curious as to where the attitude of goth is at the moment since your boy's been so controversial. Tractor goth? Love it. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Not that what I'm about to say has anything to do with goth, it really doesn't, but this does have something to do with content and being a content creator since it's so accessible now, the sanctity of which has been detrimented by such accessibility, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But what I will say is that because normies, and by this I mean people who typically would have no interest in putting in any amount of actual effort to get into content creation, have now been given the opportunity to get into content creation because of the ease of access of it and the oversaturation of said markets, there is a persistent theme of people trying to chase viral content. Now, viral content's great, whatever. However, there are two ways you can do this. One way is to be consistent, be sincere, and be hardworking. Now, this is the longer road to gaining success. It might take you longer to gain an audience. It might take you longer to build a backlog of videos. You might have to think a bit harder about your content, spend a bit more time on it, blah, 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 blah. In the end, you will most likely have a far more supportive audience that you are able to upload to frequently. And you can see this kind of quality in many of the biggest channels here on YouTube, the ones that have the most dedicated fan bases of any other channel. You have people like Casey Neistat, for example, and Markiplier and Jacksepticeye and PewDiePie and all these other family vlogger channels. Dedication to the craft, right? They upload frequently. They're always working on their persona or the efficiency of their video output. They're always constantly working super hard. But the other kind of content that has become irritatingly prevalent at the moment has been these constant viral chasers. See, the problem is that whenever you go viral for something, you want it to be for something that you can recreate, okay? Which is ultimately what I wanted to talk about here. When you go viral, you want it to be for something that you can recreate all the time. This is like a good approach business-wise, is a good approach to building an online career. You don't want to try and do a viral video that is based on a trend that you can only do once, and then you have to do something else entirely the next time. You're not building a dedicated audience from that. You're just becoming a flash in the pan for that week, and then you're gone again until you can think of something else entirely different, entirely unrelated to the last trend, the last viral trend that you just hopped on. Yes, it can take longer to come up with a viral video that garners a dedicated audience that allows you to recreate the content of this viral, therefore creating a successful and prolific career within content creation as an influencer. But those are the benefits. It takes longer to think about the kind of content that you want to do, right? You can't just do like any old trend, any old thing that will just potentially go viral because you're like, no, I'm in this for like an audience. And some people will just like try and make a viral based on like a trend or something fleeting or something finite or a joke that can't be made again, or a joke that they've most likely stolen from somebody else, therefore they're not funny enough to make their own content prolifically, so it just kind of ends with this one joke that they stole and got away with. So you need to think really hard about the kind of content that you're trying to go viral for, because if you can recreate it over and over again, then you're good. It's what they call renewable content. If you can create renewable content, fantastic. And to this girl's credit here, the Tractor Goth, nothing I've said has been in any way in relation to Tractor Girl other than this. What you go viral for is what you're going to be known for, okay? So really think about it. Some people do just approach it with like, if I just really degrade myself, if I really degrade myself and put myself out there and or hurt myself or put myself out, spend so much money or potentially harm others, then great, that goes viral. But now, if you want to go viral again, you're going to have to do it again. Do you want to be known for this? Do you want to be known as blah blah person, that blah blah guy? Do you want to be known as that? Or is the viral more important than anything else? Just put some thought into your viral content, because it's what you're going to be known for and it's what is going to be expected of you going forward. As long as you're okay with that, then go for it. However, this tractor goth chick, she may have just made a tractor video as a goth and it just blew up by complete accident and that's how she's known. Unfortunately, that's how these things work. Once you go viral for it, it's all people want to know from you. This is why content creators usually make one type of content, okay? I've had this weird resurgence. Maybe a couple of people here and there just been like, oh, you just make the same thing over and over again. I'm like, that's every channel. Why do I have to be a one-stop shop for every kind of content just to entertain? Watch other people. If you want to watch like travel vlogs or like slow motion video or science videos or crazy trick shots, there are plenty other channels out there for you to watch. If you want to watch like a political one or a gamer one, then go ahead, watch those channels. However, here I talk about these things from this perspective using the life experiences that I have. This is why content creators make other channels if they want to do something different. You can't just make like a variety channel. It was such a weird thing. I was like, God, man, like, is it 2014 again? These are the kind of comments that people would get back in 2014. It's a channel, not a network, okay? Channels usually just kind of show like the one thing. Like ESPN is just sports. Like you wouldn't watch ESPN and just be like, man, I'm so bored of NFL bloopers. I really wish they'd play like a telenovela or something. I wish they'd just play an Adam Sandler movie just to, you know, break up how stale this content is. It's the weirdest thing. And I thought we were past that now as a society, but apparently not. You have no idea how lucky you are. I've told this story before, but growing up in the rural suburbs of Wales, it wasn't even the suburbs, it was just middle of nowhere countryside. I was the only boy who was ever interested in expressing himself with fashion and dark eye makeup and that kind of thing. No guy had been wearing or doing the things that I had been doing in that area, and it was tough, man. It was met with a lot of confusion from friends I had had for years that have been with you for sleepovers and gaming nights and all sorts of fun nights out and stuff, and suddenly they're reacting as if you're a complete stranger or a weirdo because you decided to wear some eyeliner. It was tough. This was like 2006. So there was no other goths in my school, especially male goths. I think it was 2 female goths, but they're not really relatable. No, men wearing makeup is an entirely different contention. Public perception that is usually met with a deal of animosity and violence, actually, in my situation. So whenever I went to music college, I thought, great! There's going to be other goths here that are interested in things that I'm interested in, or things that I'm not interested in yet, and I can learn from them. And we can learn from each other and discover new music and discover new fashion and all that kind of stuff. So then whenever I went to my music college, I was like, here we go. The place to be accepted. And then I go there and I was like, oh, right. It's Wales in 2008. So there's about as much subcultural diversity as Iraq. I'm using hyperbole, of course, but I went to music college and there was nothing but 80s rocker dudes dressed like this. They, like, 20 of them. 20, I've told the story before. They would, like, try their high-pitched, like, Judas Priest wailing in the hallways. It was super cringe. And then there was me coming into college listening to Thornography album by Cradle of Filth with, like, eye spikes. Like, liquid eyeliner spikes coming from my eyes. New rock boots. Spiderweb arm warmers. Synthetic dreads. I was the only one that was like that. I thought all weirdos were going to be accepted there. There was like hippies and 80s rockers and 80s rockers and 80s rockers. Then there was little old Jake. All alone once again. So I've been alone in this subculture for quite some time. Even before I decided to become a goth island. I was alone before this as well. My brief dip into the subculture community made me physically sick, so I decided to go back to being isolated, this time self-inflicted. But yeah, I would have given anything to go to college and there was a bunch of goths there. That would have been awesome. Because they would have been like 2008 goths. So they would have been cooler. They would have been listening to Manson and Deftones and Trent Reznor and stuff. Typo Negative. It would have been really cool. But no. None of that. Only goth in the entire college, and they were not nice to me about it. Yeah, that sucked ass.
Just because your foundation is white doesn't mean that your playlist has to be too. It is
That always drives me nuts, man.
World Goth Day, and here are some goth bands with people of color in them. In the Latino.
Jesus Christ. Here, how does this sound? Just because your clothes are black doesn't mean your playlist has to be. Here's a list of goth bands of people who are actually white. How does that sound? How does that sound? Seriously. There always has to be like this racist undertone. You couldn't have just been like, oh, you know The Cure and Bauhaus, and they're super great, but here's some goth bands that are fronted by blacks and Hispanics. So obnoxious. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this video. I had a good day today because I made it a good day. Great, actually. And I hope you guys make it great too. So I will see you soon. Bye.